Go.
Okay. I am Hannah Parker. I'm the director here at Vivian B. Adams, and I just want to thank y'all. This is a great turnout. We weren't really sure, you never know when you put this stuff out, who's coming, who's showing up. I actually see some familiar faces in here of parents and families, which is great, of different age, children that they have and adults, and so this is a great opportunity. I will tell you just a little bit about Adams School that some people don't know. We have actually been around since 1971, so we've been here a long time, and we actually serve 6 counties. And a lot of people don't realize that we serve Dale, Coffee, Henry, Houston, Barber, and Pike County. So we are, for our adults, just a day rehabilitation program. We do not have any kind of residential. We do have case management that is not through us. It is a lot of ours is through Care, which there is a representative here today. And then depending on what county they live in, they may have case management services through someone else. But we also have a school age program here that a lot of people don't realize. We have students that are ages 3 to 21 that this is considered their least restrictive environment, so that's where they're getting their educational services. So what we're here to talk about today is what y'all already know, is what happens after 21. We all know about the big waiting list, so that's why the big people are here to talk to y'all. But we will be around, even the ones of us that work here, if y'all have questions afterwards or anything we can help y'all with. But also feel comfortable. I know when they get up to talk, if y'all need to go to the bathroom, there's a ton of bathrooms out here in this hallway. If there's snacks up here. If y'all need anything, feel free to get up and move around. I think we want this to kind of be informal, but we want y'all to get a lot of information today. So at this time, who's speaking first? You're going to come back. Okay. So if y'all need anything, just let us know, okay?
Hannah knows I got to talk. I've got words I must say. This is what I hope will be the first of maybe some quarterly meetings on some topics that you tell me. Today we've got 5 different presenters, and I've asked them to try to keep it to 15 minutes or so. And then if we could take 1 or 2 just general questions, once we finish, they'll be available for specifics. Because I will tell you, I have a son with intellectual disability and physical disability. He has been at Adams School since 1991. He is in the blast department, which is where the most intensive needs in our school are. And I always have questions, and I'm going to get some answers today. But most of this is going to be like dipping your toe in. And once you dip in, if you want to know where more now, you will begin to know more of where to go. And what I'm going to ask you to do is touch base with me as we have some milling around time, because once we finish, you can catch these people at their tables, you can ask specific questions. If you will tell me the kinds of topics you are interested in, I've already had someone ask me about special needs trusts. If you will talk to me about what you want to do, we can set things up. We can meet like this. We can all get on a Zoom meeting and ask our questions. We can do a hybrid of those. So we want everyone to be able to get on the same page and know what's going on. So I applaud you for coming out and finding out what's happening. I'm going to get our presenters. The order we'll go in, we'll start with Care. And when I call up presenter, just introduce yourself. I'll put you on the timer. And we'll get started. And if you know you've got a question that you think the whole crowd might ask, raise your hand. We'll take a couple of questions, and then we'll go into the specifics that you can get one-on-one. Sound good? Very casual, okay? If you've got to get up, please do. But I'm going to ask Jessica Hall with Care to introduce herself, and she can get us started.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Hall. I'm the Director of Developmental Disabilities with Care, and I've got a little bit of information to present today about waiver services and also just how to go through the process of getting on the waiting list for the waiver. So, I've got my lady over here doing the PowerPoint for me. So this is just a broad list. A broad list of all the services that are offered through the Alabama Medicaid waiver. This is specifically for the ID waiver, which is the intellectual disability waiver. Right now, in most of the counties in Alabama,
I'm sorry. What is the ID Medicaid waiver? I'm sorry, I don't know what Medicaid waiver is.
it's a program offered through the state. You have to have Medicaid. There's some qualifications for it. ID is for intellectual disability, and I'll go into how you qualify for that in a few minutes, but it offers services and it's paid for through Medicaid, so it's a waiver program. There's several different waiver programs offered in the state, but these are the two main ones that I'm familiar with that's offered in this area for this population. So I was just focusing on there should be a few more, like 2 more things. But this is, there's a big list. At the top, we've got day habilitation and residential habilitation. A lot of times when I speak with families, these are two of the main things they're interested in is, the day program, which is like what Vivian B. Adams offers in a lot of the counties here. Residential habilitation would be like the group homes, and I do have a list of providers on one of these slides that discusses some of that too. Some other key ones that I'm most familiar with, these are all straight from the website, and some of these I'm not as familiar with because I'm still learning about them too. But if there's something that you're wanting to know more about, you can let me know and I can see what I can find out, as time goes on. But specialized medical supplies is another big one that a lot of families utilize if their family member uses diapers or pens or requires even like formula or any kind of sanitary supplies, that is an option, and you get, I think, like $250 worth a month, and a lot of the providers will ship them directly to your home. You can order online how you want it, but it's through the Medicaid waiver, so that's paid for monthly. Personal care services and adult companion services, those are services provided in your home. So instead of the person living like in a separate group home, they would be in the home of the families, and a worker would come in, and personal care is a little bit more intensive, so they would help with like if they need help showering or getting dressed, all that kind of stuff, more hands-on stuff like that, maybe helping them learn how to cook or do cleaning or things like that in the home to help them to one day live independently. That's personal care. Companion is more like if they can't be at home alone and you need somebody to be there with them just to make sure they're staying safe. So mainly just someone there with them. They're not really as hands-on, but they're just, sitting with them and making sure they're okay while you're not there. That's the big ones that I'm most familiar with. As you can see, there's a lot more. And I think that's one thing the state is working towards too, is working with providers so there's more knowledge and more resources available and people that are providers that can offer these other services. So, if you have a certain need or if something up here interests you, you can let me know and I can check into it. We can maybe learn together about the process for that. But yeah, that's mostly everything there. Self-directed services I've got on the bottom, which we've got somebody here that's going to talk about that in a little bit more in depth. But that is basically personal care services, but instead of a provider hiring somebody to come in and do have the workers come in, you could be the employer and hire your workers that you want and set up their schedule and everything the way you want. So it's more direct with you handling all that. And a lot of people have really jumped on that especially since COVID, because they've allowed it where family members can be the workers and things like that. So it's a really good option as well. Okay, next slide. This is just a small list of some of the main providers in the area that I know of, that I work with. And Spectra Care serves 5 counties, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Spectra Care in a little bit, but, these are the providers in the southeast counties that we work with pretty regularly. Von Bloomberg, they're in Houston County, they have a day program, and they provide residential. So they serve Houston County, and as Ms. Hannah said, Vivian B. Adams is here and serves multiple counties, with their day program. Volunteers of America is a residential provider, they're statewide really. So is Progressive Health Providers, they're called PHP for short, that's another group home provider. And then these bottom two, Sunbridge and Addis, they both are providing personal care and companion services. And there's also the option for personal care transportation too, so like, if you have a worker in the home and, you know, your family member likes to go out to the library or the gym or the park, that worker can take them out, you know, and so that's a service as well too. And this is just a little bit about Spectra Care, the DD side, the developmental disabilities. Spectra Care serves 5 counties. We serve Barber, Henry, Houston, Dale, and Geneva counties. And Spectra Care does provide mental health and substance abuse services, which is a different department for me, but I mean, I know a little bit about it, but my focus is developmental disabilities, and this is what we serve. Our biggest provider, our service that we provide is support coordination, also known as case management, and we serve those 4 counties there, Houston, Dale, Henry, and Barber. And then we also have a day program we've got a day program in Geneva, that's the Purvis Center, so yeah, that's our services. All right, so that was just a little overview of waiver services. And this is kind of backpedaling a little bit about how do you get on the waiting list, or how do you, if you want any of these services, what do you do? So the first thing you would need to do is call that 1-800 number. And I know families call Vivian B. Adams, they call Von Bloomberg, they call all over because they don't know who to call. And so this is really step 1. You would have to call that 1-800 number to get started for any developmental disabilities waiver services to get the process started. That when you call that call center number, they fill out that contact form. They get your information, your demographics, and what's going on with the person. You know, what kind of services you're looking for. Just a little bit of an overview about what the person may need. And then once the call center puts that information into the state database, it's called ADITIS, it's a state system that the support coordinators use, or case managers. And so once that goes into ADITIS, it goes to the case management agency, also called the 310 agency. And so for the 4 counties Spectra Care serves, if you call that 1-800 number and you're in Dale, Barber, Houston, or Henry counties, it's gonna come to me. And so I'll get that information, that call center sheet, and then I'll reach back out to you about what's needed to finish the application. If you're in other counties, I know Coffee, they're served by South Central Mental Health, so their case management agency would reach out, and it goes farther out from there. So once you call that number and I reach out to you, this is the information that we're gonna have to gather. So we always need proof of their intellectual functioning before the age of 18. So if they're still in school, they usually wanna see like their IEP, they wanna get a copy of their IEP reevaluation form, which is like the determination of eligibility. So if you're in any sort of special education class, they should have that paper. But I would ask for that, and then a lot of times on that reevaluation form, there's documentation where they've been tested. They've had an IQ test, and it's going to show an IQ score on there. And so, you know, we need that. If the IQ score is not on there, then we would need an IQ test before the age of 18 if possible. Now I've had circumstances where, you know, I've been told we've tried and we couldn't get a score, or the person just wasn't testable really because of, you know, whatever may be going on with them. And so if that's the case, sometimes the state will accept like a letter from the doctor, or if they're on disability, if you have a letter from Social Security showing this person is disabled, they've been disabled since this age. You know, we just have to have some kind of documentation before the age of 18 showing that they've had this intellectual disability. So that's bullet point 1. And then number 2 is if they're over the age of 18, then we also are gonna need an IQ test after the age of 18. So that's one of the requirements to qualify for this Medicaid waiver. You have to have a lot of good documentation showing that. So if they're 18 or older, if they're still in school, it's good to go ahead and see if the school can do an IQ test before they age out of school. And a lot of schools will do that, which is super helpful because the IQ tests are very expensive. There's one doctor in Dothan, Dr. Randall Jordan. He's in Dothan. He will do an IQ test, and he charges a fee. The last I heard, he charged $200 if you pay with cash, or $250 if you pay with a credit card. He may have gone up a little bit since then, but that's the price I was quoted a few years ago when I spoke with him. But he's the least expensive one that I know of in the area. I've spoken with like Dothan Behavioral and some of the other people in Dothan, and they were saying $700-800 would be their charge for an IQ test. So, you know, $200 is a good bit of money, but it's a good bit lower than, you know, what it could be with these other tests. So usually, you know, if the family says they don't have a test after the age of 18 and they can't go through to school, I give them that number for Dr. Jordan. And then once we get the IQ test, there's a few things that I would have to document. There's an assessment I would complete. It's called an ICAP assessment, and it basically, I would just meet with you and the person for like 20 to 30 minutes, asking questions about how they function and that kind of thing. And it generates a score, and I have to submit that to the state. So we would have the 2 IQ scores, or the documentation, the ICAP assessment, and then there's a criticality assessment that I would complete in the Adidas system. And that just asks about their behaviors, their medical needs, that kind of thing, and the family situation. You know, I've had families say, I'm staying at home and I need to be working and I've missed a lot of work, and if I don't get back to work, I'm gonna lose my job. Well, I mark that in the criticality, and that helps determine what level they are on the waiting list, or what ranking they have. So that's the big things as far as the application process. So once I submit all of that, the Department of Mental Health looks in the system at the application, and then they have a way of scoring and ranking based on all those scores and the criticality, you know, that I put in there. And so usually after they review everything, I think it's like, there's the thing there, it tells you, within 30 days after everything's submitted, they'll give you an answer whether or not the person is eligible for waiver services. And if they are, they'll send you a letter to let you know. And then if you're not, they'll let you know too. But once you get that letter, that means you're on the waiting list, or that your family member's on the waiting list for the waiver. So I don't know if y'all have heard about the waiting list, but it's pretty long. I have some people that have been on it for years. I mean, I have some that are in like the 900s on the waiting list as far as their ranking. But if you ever have an update about your family member, you can call and just say, hey, it's getting worse, their behaviors are doing, you know, this is going on, or this health situation is happening. You know, anything like that that is affecting your situation or making it more difficult, you can let me know. I can update that criticality in the system, and then that'll affect their ranking. And then if it comes down to you're at your last resort, there's nothing else that can be done, I can sometimes submit a request for an emergency slot, but I have to have a really good justification for that. So, you know, it's a long process, and I know a lot of you, I see some familiar faces in here, so some of y'all are your family members on the waiver receiving services, so y'all know how this is with the waiting list. But, you know, once we get all that in and they get services, you know, it's really worth it in the long run. So that's my overview of the DD waiver and all that kind of stuff. I did wanna just put this up here, I do get a lot of calls, when people call this call center and the application comes in. A lot of times, the people have an autism, diagnosis as well. And so, there is an option with the Department of Mental Health for autism services. They have to be under the age of 20, I believe. So, and I think there's an organization here that'll talk some more about that, but, sometimes too, they may qualify, for the ID waiver and can still get this while they're on the waiting list, so just some good information there.
Jessica, what is the youngest age that someone can go on the ID waiting list?
I think the youngest one I've had is like 5, so I guess, I don't think there's a limit.
So there's
or-
no, they can get on the waiting list forever.
I think so,
And then
yeah.
just update.
Hillary says 3, so,
And then they can just update as needed.
okay, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, 3 and up, yeah, and, yeah, just communication on, hey, this is going on, and we can update it in the system and just keep trying, so, any other questions for me?
All right, you can ask for specifics, but I was looking at this. This is on this front table. If you have an individual that you feel like qualifies for the waiver, put your hands on this. It tells you every service offered. Myself, as a parent, I thought all my child could get on the waiver was the opportunity to be in the day program here. And then I learned, oh, he can get some self-directed personal care. I didn't know that. So, that's my segue in. Thank you, Jessica, she'll be around for more questions. And Tiffany, that's bringing you up. Tiffany Walker, I'm gonna get you to come up, introduce yourself, and, take your 15 minutes of fame at UDAS.
Hello. Jessica went over a lot of things that I will be discussing as well. I am Tiffany Walker. I have dual roles. I am the support coordination liaison and I'm also the self-directed liaison. Let me get an understanding of my group. Who all are waiting on the waiting list? Okay? Who all have individuals that is on a waiver, which is receiving services? Okay. So we're gonna go through them. You may be having technical difficulties. But we as the Alabama Department of Mental Health, we are located in Montgomery, Alabama. We are the Region 4. We have 5 different regions. You all are under the Region 4 umbrella. This handout would be great for the ones that's on the waiting list. This handout right here is everything about what Jessica discussed with waiting list. Waiting list is saying that you place your individual on the waiting list to be waiting to be eligible for a waiver slot. They are not receiving any services just yet. We have 3 different waivers. The ID waiver is one of our legacy waiver. The living at home waiver is our second legacy waiver. Our waivers, some of you know the language of home and community-based services. All of the waivers are through the Medicaid. So even if your person got on the waiting list, they did not necessarily have to be eligible for Medicaid. But to get a waiver slot, you have to maintain their Medicaid insurance. It goes hand in hand. So this is what I just said about our 3 waivers. The third one, which is our community waiver, that is our newest waiver. That waiver is different. It's based on the pilot counties. So for you, your Region 4, Houston County is one of the pilot counties. So when you be on the waiting list, we have a committee to determine what waiver you will be on. So when you come up for a waiver slot, your 310 representative will give you a call and say your son or daughter has been eligible for the Medicaid waiver. They will actually tell you what waiver you will be on. Sometimes when you first start out with the waiting list, when she talked about, that's the documentation that Jessica was referring to. It's also in this handout. It will tell you about the process. The Alabama Department of Mental Health is the one you will call. That 1-800 number is our Montgomery location. So there will be a representative to be on the phone and ask you about your person. It could be a guardian to call. It could be a family friend. Anyone that knows the individual has a contact information. They will also let you know, they will tell you about the different waivers to determine if you're eligible for ours. Our waivers are strictly the intellectual disability. So the people if your child was in special education program, that's what she means by the IQ testing. The school system did. So it is starting at age 3. That just means you're getting on the waiting list. That doesn't mean we're placing your 3-year-old in services. We will ask you to use all of the children's services first. And then we will offer in-home supports. We're not trying to put a 3-year-old in a group home setting, residential program. So those different groups that we're talking about for CWP, it tells you what groups you'll be in. Every waiver has a support coordination representative. So you will never be by yourself trying to figure out and navigate through the services. These are all of the services. Like I said, this is our legacy waiver. Do anyone know what waivers they're on? The ones that's currently on the waiver. ID, raise your hand. Okay. ID waiver. This is all the services that can be accessed through your waiver. This is the only waiver that focuses on the residential component, which is group home placement. Living at home waiver. Anyone has to live at home? Okay. Living at home, are you getting day program and possibly in-home supports? Okay. Those two legacy waivers offer the same thing, except residential will not be in this component. CWP, they have some of the same services, it just may be a different name. All of our services for our waiver will be located on the Medicaid waiver website, as well as the MH website, the mental health for ADMH. The call center, that's what we was referencing. This form here, this handout here, is all of the waivers. It will tell you the eligibility process, what services, what age group. So this will be a good resource for the ones that's on the wait list that doesn't know anything about the waivers. Any questions so far? Okay. Self-directed. This is the only service, it's on all 3 waivers. This is the only service that the family are the manager of the service. They are the employer of record, that's their title. There's no agency involved. Anyone receiving, self-directed. Okay. Any services can be changed. Once you're on the waiver, you're not stuck to be with day program for the rest of their life. You're not stuck for them to be in residential. It changes, whatever their needs are. The self-directed, this service, they're in their home. You can have, what's the next one? We do have where we have it on the traditional side, when someone say a personal care, companion care, respite, transportation, these are the services. Traditional means that's added. There is a company that determines your staff, find your staff, train your staff, set up the pay, the rate of pay. Some people do have that service. The other service, like I said, the self-directed, you get the same components. It's just no agency is involved. You have to find your own staff. We have a max rate of pay for each service. You train your staff. We have, if you look at this handout, we have, if you go up on the website, there is a link to self-directed. It will tell you we have our current handbooks for CWP and for the legacy way, which is IDLH. So if you want to see the comparison, you can. The focus on this slide is the goods and service. With self-directed, Medicaid has placed a savings account with this service. So if your individual needs additional supplies, wants to go to a community camp, want to pay for doctor's visits or counseling treatment, that savings can be accessed. The savings does not start time you get self-directed. It builds up. Everything, the FMSA, now there is 2 agencies with self-directed. One is Allied, which is your last 2 slides. These are the 2 FMSA, PPL and Allied. You could change over at any time. We give you that option. Allied has been around the longest. PPL is our newest one. The brochures will give you the difference with each one. When it comes to the FMSA, their role is payroll. Their role is verifying your staff, making sure there's no abuse, neglect, like they don't come on any website radar for that. They verify background checks, DMV records. They help with you getting established as an EOR. So with the EOR, you get an EIN number through the IRS. The employer record does not get paid. That could be a family member, that could be a friend. Some people have a friend to be an EOR, while the family member be the staff. The staff, you set up your own rate of pay. Currently, personal care is $22.52. You can start them off as that, you can start them off as less. We don't take mistakes. I help you get through the process. Your support coordination agency, whatever wave you're on, will never leave you. They will always be your team. They will walk you through every service. You can, like I said, you can add and change services. You just have to let us know. As a department, we review everything. Some of you now are that's on the waiver. You are familiar with the person-centered plan. That is the assessment that determines services that you want. It talks about the person's life. It will follow that person throughout every waiver service. There is a budget. The budget is saying that when you are the EOR, you determine how you want the people to come in. So your worker, you determine if you want them to be 8 to 5, 7 days a week, 3 days a week. It's up to you. The companion care service is the supervision. Most of their service is at night. So some people, like she said, could work at night. And so if you don't get home till 11 o'clock, we can put in companion care for someone for your staff to remain in the home until you get off work or another family member come in. Transportation always starts at the individual home. It doesn't start from where the worker, some people think that. It doesn't start from when the worker, where they live to the individual. It starts with the individual. It's in, some family members use their own car. Whatever vehicle you're using, your FMSA need to know. That person need to have reliable transportation and insurance. There's a separate funding for transportation. Transportation is for anything they want to access in the community. They want to go to the mall. They want to go to the movies. It's not just to take them to the doctor's appointment. Self-directed services does not eliminate the role of the family or the caregiver. It's just help for the caregiver to go to work, have their life, and the person to feel like they can have a life. So, Allied doesn't pay anything. Overtime is considered anything past 40 hours a week. So yes, they could work 40 hours a week. They could have 16-hour shifts. They could have 3-hour shifts. It's going to be the role of you as the EOR to determine that. And you have to know your budget and stays within it. Like we said, with the waiting list, you're just waiting. You're not getting any service. Once they get on the waiver, it pays for every single thing. Any questions so far?
How long is the waiting list currently?
I do not know. But what I can tell you, most people think there's 3 separate waiting lists. It's not. Just because we have 3 waivers, there's only 1 waiting list. Our waiting list is statewide. We have 5 different regions. So even though, so that's how you determine, when she talked about the criticality assessment, that is any changes. We have it where if someone is, a caregiver has passed away, and that person doesn't have anyone, that's the emergency case. We get the documentation to show that. We have it sometime where the natural caregiver, primary caregiver, is deceased, or the person is considered homeless. Anything that's going on with that person needs to be talked to with your support coordinator. Go.
And that will bump them up on the waiting lists.
It will bump them up. However, someone in another region could have the same situation. So it doesn't mean it's gonna bump you up to number 50. It just means you're gonna move from where you was.
So that's why it's important for these families to always stay in touch with their case manager,
Yes.
their agency, because anything going on, because like you said, you may be that number today, but you may not be that number
Yes.
tomorrow. So anything changes in your life, you've got to call and stay in touch with them.
Yes. And our CWP waiver was put in place to help some of these family members that's been on the waiting list for a long time to have access to a waiver. That's why right now they have specific pilot areas that they're focusing on. Yeah.
So, to make sure I understand, when you call the 1-800 number,
Mm-hmm.
do you have to wait years before you find out if you're eligible for the self-direction?
No. The 1-800 number is just the point of intake. Once they get everything they need from you from the phone call, it's going to go directly to your support coordinator. So that person is who you're gonna always talk to when things changes. You will have to contact the department, which is the Alabama Department of Health. We have a waiting list coordinator. That person manages the wait list and knows where your ranking is. So you can always call them and ask.
I've been on the waiting list for 18 years. All like this, when things came out very critical, I've actually been moved down on the list. So, I mean, I just don't really know what it takes to get moved up.
Get with your coordinator and see what, because sometimes you all think it's, you don't want to say what everything is going on. Sometimes it may not be things going on behavior-wise, but if it's because this individual lives in the home, needs supervision, if you have to go to work, that's a different change. So knowing your work schedule, knowing what's your responsibility, it's questions in that criticality assessment that will be appropriate for your situation.
So if I understand this right, you can actually move backwards on the list?
You could. Because
There
it's a
have been
statewide
cases.
list.
Right.
Yes. But I'm not the one that covers that. Like I said, we have a wait list coordinator that works directly with the support coordinator. So as long as the support, you're talking with your support coordinator, they're putting the information into our system and tagging the appropriate staff, they can go and make sure the assessments are being addressed.
Now, to be eligible for any of these waivers, you have to meet Medicaid eligibility requirements, correct?
Yes, and that is your insurance. Now, some people, this happens too. Some people are waiting on our waiting list and can be eligible for another waiver and can receive services from, like, Sequoia. I might be saying wrong.
Which, yes, Carla is gonna address what you may
Yes.
get as a gap.
So we understand you're waiting, but the call center and your support coordinator will give you resources for you to use or access when you don't have your waiver slot. The only thing is, once you get, like I said, you get your phone call from your support coordinator and say you got a waiver slot, you have to make that determination. Will you stay on the other waiver or move to our waiver? You have that option. You can't be on both. Oh.
I got a question, since you said that, like my son, all the way his perspective carrier is Justin, but he gives serious for Socorro, so do I need to get out Socorro right now?
No,
Okay.
you're fine. You don't have to choose until Jessica call and say, your son or daughter has the slot for, and they'll tell you either ID, LAH, or CWP. Then you decide, do you want to proceed with us or stay where you at? If you decide not to proceed with us, then she would make that notation for us, and we will, I think they remove you from the wait list, or you go back. But they will talk to you about that. And it also affects someone else could come up or.
Okay, so, we came from another state over 2 years ago. And I called before I even brought my son into the state, and they told me what I needed to do. Somewhere, it's been almost 2 years, and I'm still trying to do the application for the waiting list. Somewhere the ball keeps getting dropped. I've been able to get everything, so we're trying again, but just anybody who's getting ready to start it, stay vigilant, vigilant.
Go to your sport coordination. And then she brought up a good point. Our waiver stays in Alabama. Transportation, whether you on traditional side or self-direct, stays in Alabama. So you can't go and say, we want to take him to the concert in Georgia. No.
Yeah, it didn't matter, he's been receiving services since he was a year
Yes.
now in 2 different states. Alabama is a whole different little ballgame here.
And just
It's been tough.
she was eligible in another state does not guarantee she's going to get our waiver because she's never been out through our eligibility process.
Yeah.
Just the same goes for, sometimes we have individual has to get off the waiting list, off the waiver, because the family decided to move to Louisiana. Now, as the support coordinator, we will give you all of the documents that got you eligible, just in case. The same eligibility process is in New Orleans, we don't know. But before anyone gets off the waiver, we are encouraging to see what additional services can be offered. For example, just because you're in day program, If the person chooses, like a lot of people during COVID decided not to pursue day program anymore, you have other options. You're not tied into the original services you receive. You're not tied into the waiver. It's voluntary. We just encourage you to pursue all options before you eliminate the waiver altogether. And you can have dual services. Like Ms. Owen said, she has self-directed services. Her son also could be on the day program. You can have residential and still be on the day program. You could be in your home and have in-home supports, which is personal care, companion care, and have day program. You can have specialized medical supplies. If something changes and your individual needs specialized medical supplies, always take that back to your support coordinator, because we have a waiver service for that. We have a provider base for that. Get your supplies on a monthly basis. So the waiver is there to eliminate private fees, personal fees rather. But if you take someone off out of the state to Georgia, as I said, that's going to be your personal fees, personal spending.
I just have a comment, and then I talk about, is to hold on to any piece of documentation regarding your child or adult.
Yes.
Because you start you a notebook now with IEPs, with, if you get a copy of their psychological evaluation, anything, because we assist with a lot of Social Security redeterminations too here, and they're always requesting documentation. And then you go back to school systems, and it's been so long since they've been in school, they don't have evaluation, so hold on to every piece of documentation regarding your child.
And once you get that evaluation, you do not have to get it again. Once you receive, like you start off with a developmental IQ, that could be when the school system did it when they was in early education. High school is the adult, so we look for, after the age of 18, the adult IQ test. Once you have an adult IQ test, your individual never have to take a test anymore. It doesn't matter if they're 60 or if they're 60 coming on. If you have previous testing and it meets our criteria, then you're through the eligibility process.
I have some clients that have experienced, maybe their IQ score was too high at one point, but, things have changed over time, and so they're having a hard time trying to get that retest. And so is there any direction to send them back to their physician?
Yes, or access that community representative. We don't do any of the testing. We try, but we have in the past, but we don't have the capacity for our staff to do all 5 regions. So we provide resources, and we encourage, if you talk to your school system and let them know that you're trying to get on the waiting list or get one of these Medicaid waivers, and you talk to them about the importance of the IQ test, they will make sure to try to get one in before that person age out. This slide with EORs, it gives you the responsibility as the manager of service. It gives the responsibility of the participant, and they have another representative. The authorized representative is in place. Let's say Miss Susan is the EOR. Miss Susan has to go out of town because she has death in the family. If she has set up a authorized rep in the beginning or with her FMSA, that person can step in to approve the timesheets, or, we're moving to the electronic verification. So they're clocking in and out through the app or the phone call. I know families don't like that, but that's a Medicaid criteria. So the different roles. This information is also on our website. You can find it, like I said, in the handbook or on the website. With the department, we have resources to help you train your staff. We do different modules, different educations. We have it where we can train you on how to look for abuse and neglect if it's happening in your home. You help with your support coordinator. Your support coordinator is your team. They're gonna always be there whether you're on the traditional service or self-directed. That person-centered plan is always gonna be there whether you're on traditional or self-directed. And that assessment is just talking about what they do during the day, what's their routine, if they're having any problem behaviors, who their doctors are. So it's talking about their health, their safety, their living situation, their family network, what resources. We give you resources so you don't always feel like you have to use the waiver. For example, if you don't choose to go to our day program, then we talk to you about, or your staff, if you got in-home supports or residential or self-directed services, they will make sure the individual go out in the community and have things to do during the day. But if you want, some people like both, some people change their mind. It's up to you. It's person-centered focus of the individual.
But when you say family members, would that include parents, or just be like more extended, or?
It's up to you. So, are you saying to be a staff, or are you saying in that plan?
You know, I mean, I've been a stay-at-home mom for 16 years, and I don't really need staff. I am the staff.
Okay. So, good example. You will have to decide what role you want to be. You can't be an employer of record, which is the manager of that service, self-directed service, and be the worker. The worker is the one going to get paid. So let's say your husband, your sister, if you want them to be your employer of record, then they can be, and you be the staff.
Tiffany, I thought that it had to be, you could be a family member that did not live in your home.
Either or. Either or.
I did not know.
Yes.
Because I am the employer, my daughter is one of my workers, but she doesn't live with me.
Yes, and we're changing our waiver amendment, but we have put that in place. With self-directed, you get to have monthly meetings with the FMSA and the Alabama Department of Health. We can answer any questions. Because you are the EOR, you can decide to change. You just have to let your FMSA know.
I don't want to be a worker.
So what that means is, once you get your waiver slot and you choose self-direct, your staff will not start automatically. Your FMSA have to clear you first and get you set up with your employer ID number, your IRS number, and they have to clear your worker. So when you do the process, do everything at the same time. You don't have to wait to clear you before you submit for your workers. Once you get your go start date, you have your service. Once they tell you, you're set. Everybody clear? You can start 10-1. Go for it. Because your support coordinator has already identified with you what your services you want. You have already identified your schedule of your staff. If you only have one staff right now, go with the one staff. Get started. As you grow and want more staff, you can. But every staff has to go through your FMSA to approve. Every EOR, like Ms. Susan says, she may decide she don't want to be the EOR anymore. If she wants her sister has to go to the process. And then once they clear the sister, they can tell her, you're clear to work, if she chooses to be the worker. If not, you may just choose to be the family that do her own life. But a lot of family members like this service. You can change it anytime you choose. You just can't be in a residential program and then want self-directed. It only works in your own home. Same goes for the traditional if you was with Addis.
Is there a maximum number of hours per week for the staff, or?
based on you. You have to talk to your support coordinator and tell them what you need. If you're at work, identify your work schedule, identify when the staff need to come in. If someone goes to a day program, your son or daughter go to a day program. If you're not if you have to go to the work at 7 o'clock and someone needs to get him at 8 o'clock, then that's when you talk, your staff need to come in at that time. And then come back once they out of day program. But you have to know what you need and want. Only thing your FMSA is going to say is your max payroll is 40 hours a week. Anything over is overtime.
Do they get mileage?
They get mileage. You have a mileage form that you have to track your odometer meter. And then your EOR signs off on it, submits it to the FMSA, get processed, you get a separate check. And that's the role of the EOR. They have to make sure everything gets submitted at the time frame that your FMSA identified. So it could be on you if your staff didn't get paid. But I would encourage you when that happens to reach out to me, your support coordinator, or your FMSA and see what, because sometimes there are glitches that can be on the FMSA side. If it's on their side, they will ensure you get your check before waiting for your next 2 weeks. It's a 2 weeks time. If you don't have budgetary savings established, you should make sure your staff do not go into overtime. Because that means you would have to pay it out of your personal funding.
Do you give 40 hours per staff member, or is it 40 hours total?
No, you determine how each staff need to be. Just you have to make sure when they put the service in for your budget, it's going to be what you need on a day. So if you're needing 12-hour shifts, 3 days a week, we just need to know if we can put the right amount in your budget for your staff to get paid. Some staff are floaters, like we have some family members that uses their other siblings, the other kids, when they come home from college.
Yeah, you do this.
See?
That's all I can do.
So all thing you just got to make sure is you get their application established. No one has to come out the system with the FMSA unless you choose. If you fire staff, you let the FMSA know, they take them out the system. If you want to rehire them back, they go back through the application.
How long is the general process to go from your first step to having everything operational? How long does that generally take?
It's on you as the EOR. If you don't turn the paperwork back around at the same time, it's on you. If you don't, they will always communicate. Now this is the difference with the FMSA. Allied, they will communicate with you via email. So if they're missing something with the application, they will send an email to you. With PPL, you will have to go on their online, on their portal, and you will attach everything, all the documentation. That's truly the difference. Some people like Allied because they like having that email access to communicate. I have access to Allied, so I have the direct representative's contact. So if there's an issue with payroll, they're going to tell the family to call customer service. You need to email me or call me and say which staff did not receive their payroll, or if they were short on their check. That's going to be your role. I do not communicate with your workers. Because I'm trying to get the employer records to understand this is your business. So they need to know you are their point of contact. Then you contact me. Any other questions?
Question.
Okay.
So I could sign up to be the employer for our daughter. She lives in our house. And then I can hire my wife, go pick her up every afternoon when she gets off the bus from Vivian B. Adams.
Yes.
And she can then take her shopping and I can pay her the time that she takes her shopping.
Yes. Yes. But you have to, you have to communicate what you need. So when you talk about your mileage, you have to talk about, sometimes that we might say we're gonna do 4,000 miles a year. Sometimes that only equates to 150 miles a month. It's gonna be you to say, she gonna need to get picked up from the day program. This is 10 miles. We also want her to go into the community. We want her to stay within Houston County. Or we want her to go outside. We want her to go to Auburn, Montgomery. So when you talk about that, because they could go and see friends, families, it's in Alabama. It's fine. It's just you have to communicate so we can make sure we put everything in the budget correctly. Now sometimes you may start off and say, let me just get my feet wet. So you start low. If something changes, she likes it, he likes it, you want to increase more, have that conversation. And then you will get the appropriate documentation submitted to us. Now the difference is with the ID waiver, we always say that's the unlimited waiver. With the funding, when it comes to living at home, there's a certain cap with the funding. So I think right now it might be $55,000 per year. So if a person has day program and wants self-directed, you may have less in your home, or you may choose to go less at your day program and do more at home. Or you may choose, hey, we did the day program for 10 years. Let's start something new. All of your money can transfer over to self-directed.
So, my son, he on the way to get some, adult program, so when he get an adult program, so he'll be, you gotta divide his, so you gotta divide that part up with the, 50 else?
Depending on which waiver you on. Because there's funding for day program and the cost. There's funding for the residential and cost. And then there's funding for in-home support. So every service has their own separate funding. So the combined total is that. That's all. And same goes for CWP, depending on which group you're in, that determines your funding. And that's why your support coordinators are always there to talk you through what your waiver is offering. The only difference is, as family, you don't get to choose your waivers. I know that'd be so much easier. But we have a committee that determines your waiver slot. And it's also gonna be based on what you say you need on your credit counts. Now, sometimes if you're in the CWP pilot county, that's your option. But that's the one coming off the wait list. If you're currently on ID, LAH, your waiver will not change.
So if you have to start it off, you call the 1-800 number, wait for them to call you back, and do your intake, and give you a special care person.
Yes, but they would not call you back. They're going to tell you when they get done with your interview over the phone, answering all their questions, they're going to tell you that they have submitted the information for your support coordination. That's going to be the next point of contact. And everything will be done through her. She will also tell you what's your time frame to get this paperwork in. Sometimes if you have that initial time frame for submitting your documentation and you have it exceeded the time frame, you will get a letter and say, you got to come back. And that just means call the 1-800 number again and say, I got everything now, I got to do the process again. But waiting list is waiting, no services. Waiver is your waiver, and your services are getting paid through your waiver. But everything is about you and your individual. With self-directed, the same thing. You handle. You are the who, what, when, why. Same goes for traditional. You're still involved, but you have your other agencies, like Vivian B. Adams, they're telling you what's going on here. Try to see what needs to be changed here. But self-directed, she may only have, Ms. Susan may only have her service. Your specialized medical supplies providers, you will talk to via phone. They will make sure you get your supplies. Your role with that is making sure your physician fill out a prescription to say what your son or daughter is needing. If they need diabetic shoes, the compression socks, the pens, whatever the medical supplies are, they have to identify on the prescription. Each year, you have to keep the current prescription. How am I on time?
Let me plug another one or two in. You have given us a wealth of information, great information. And I know I have some families here who may have some specifics. So we've got Marco who can talk to you a little bit about filling the gap. That
Yes.
while you wait for a waiver, should you get there. And then we have a short presentation from Able Savings Account and from Rand. So we want to jump in there, do those, and then give you time to kind of ask specific questions. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure come up and tell us what they have to offer.
And my contact card is in the back. You can give me a call, send me an email, regardless of if you are waiting on the wait list, I can get you to the appropriate person. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Jessie, I need to ask Miss Jessie for something.
Oh, okay.
Real quick.
Okay.
So,
but that was all right, if y'all will gather back up, we've got someone from Sarcoa to speak. Where did I lose her to? There you go. Let me just mention something that was just mentioned to me. One thing you need to be aware of is for your individual to be eligible for a waiver, they need to be Medicaid approved. And there are a lot of factors that factor into that. That is a Medicaid question. So if you're individual, usually it's my understanding that a lot of that's financial. So if you are questioning whether or not your child or adult child is Medicaid eligible, that is a question for your Medicaid agency.
Because we get a lot of calls like that, and we can't tell you, that's not our expertise. And we have had individuals over the years who have been, and then they're not. And it may be a death of a parent, and then that's when we get the case manager agency, and they may come back, but like, somebody asked earlier, I don't know who it was in here, I think it was when Jessica got up, I heard somebody say something about the waiver, like, what, I don't even know what that is. But for our purposes, like Vivian Adams School, and if anybody involved Bloomberg's here, what our purposes are is that's how Adams School gets paid for that individual, is that money. And the ICAP that she talked about determines a score of what the rate of pay is going to be, because there are different rates of pay depending on how they function and those kinds of things, okay? Whether they need more help than others. So for us, it's a billing thing, but like I said, we get a lot of calls over the years of, well, I don't know why and I will tell y'all, we've had individuals here that I still can't figure out why they are not Medicaid. I mean, I really don't, I have no idea. And then there's some that you're like, how are they Medicaid? So, but that's not my expertise. I don't know that it's Jessica's expertise.
It would
It's
not be,
ours.
it would not be
I guess it
ours.
would be,
It's going to be your direct social worker or social caseworker at Medicaid.
yes.
Only thing
Right.
we're going to know if the person ever get inactive.
Right.
And
If they
then we
flag.
can follow up with you. And share this information with any of your family's friends that needs to or want to know about the Medicaid waivers and think that person is eligible. Also, you don't have to wait till the individual age out of high school. You can start now and start the process. Thank you.
All right, Sarcoa. I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Thanks for having me. My name is Deb Hodgett, and I'm the educational specialist at Sarcoa. And I know Sarcoa is a long acronym, but we are the Area Agency on Aging. But don't let that fool you. We serve people 1 to 100. We are an aging and disability resource center. We serve 7 counties in the Wiregrass area. And you know, there's area agencies on aging all over the country. There's over 600 in the United States. We are under the Older Americans Act. So wherever you do go, the area agency is available to serve you. Now I'm just going to give a brief overview on some of the things we do. Jacqueline Shope, she's our Alabama Cares Director. She's going to talk more on that and a little bit on Medicaid waiver. But we can bridge some gaps if people are not eligible yet for waiver. But one thing that I would encourage everybody to do here is to go on our website, and if you think that you might qualify for one of our programs, and I encourage you also to take our new resource directory. We just got these in this week. They're updated. I think Monday or Tuesday we got them. But if you see some programs in here that you think you might be eligible for, go on our website or call Sarcoa and fill out our assessments benefit form. Fill out one of those forms. Our informational specialist will call you. And like I said, if you don't want to go on the internet and look at our website and print it out or fill it out on the website, call and they'll send you one through the mail. But that's the best way to get screened for benefits. We have things like legal assistance. If you want to do a power of attorney or a will, we have limited legal assistance. We have some programs that help build ramps, and that's donation-based and based on volunteer availability. So we have programs like that to help bridge the gap with some of these other programs. We also have educational programs like Caregiver College. We put that on twice a year. We have a fraud summit that educates people on how to avoid scams and frauds. But there's so much available. If you want to keep up with what's going on at Sarcoa, go to our website. At the bottom of the page, you can put in your name and your email, and you'll get our monthly newsletter. We won't blow up your email, but you will get our monthly email, and it will tell you what's going on, and we'll give you updates about what's going on at Sarcoa. We also encourage you, if you follow social media, we have an Instagram and Facebook page where you can also follow updates. There's also some fun things for older adults if you're interested, like our Valentine's concert and dance. We have Older Americans Day at the Peanut Festival that we celebrate every year. So we have fun activities too. But I'm going to turn it over to Jacqueline, and she's going to talk more about Alabama Cares. But like I said, please take one of these on your way out. Sometimes the internet can be the Wild West. You can go down these rabbit holes looking for information. This is really helpful to have on your coffee table, just for a quick resource.
Now, she said you would need a microphone, but I didn't.
We'll see. I'm gonna wear my jacket though, because I am so cold. So my name is Jacqueline Choate. I am the Alabama Cares Coordinator with Sarcoa. That is a caregiver assistance program. And before I get into the meat of my program, I do want to elaborate on a few more things with Sarcoa. There was talk about the Medicaid waivers and the home and community-based waivers, and if that's new to you, or it sounds like there's so many waivers. The goal of the state of Alabama developing the waiver is to keep our populations at home and to try to keep them out of facility care as safely and efficiently as possible. So that's the whole goal of a waiver being established. And there are multiple ones. You will find that on the sheet at the table. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. So we actually manage two waivers at Sarcoa. We manage the elderly and disabled, and then the ACT waiver, which is more of a transitional waiver, but I don't work in that department anymore, but I can tell you, if you have someone that you're caring for, maybe a family member, that could possibly meet the nursing home criteria. They are medically seeing a doctor every 3 months. They are on oxygen. Maybe they are having gait training issues, feeding tube, catheter, colostomy bag, that type of situation. They may medically qualify and meet that nursing home level of care. That does not mean that they have to be homebound or bedbound. They can still medically meet those needs, even if they're still getting out in the community. Hold on, I lost my train of thought. You also have to be full, or meet the Medicaid eligibility, and that is for full Medicaid. But we actually handle the applications for deeming someone onto Medicaid. We get all of the paperwork ready to go. We go through the medical process, and then we turn it over to the Alabama Medicaid office. So we do help and have a heavy hand in that application process. I know that might be different than the population that most of you do work with, but you might know someone, or you might have dual roles as a caregiver, where you're caregiving for multiple people in your family, and this waiver might be something that could meet your needs. I'm going to get off of that and go on to my program. So Alabama Cares is a statewide program. Each of our AAAs does manage an Alabama Cares program.
it's not associated with any insurance. It's not Medicare, Medicaid. It's all funded through Title III funds, which is just federal and state monies. Now, when I say that, it's also very limited in funding. There's not, it's not 24/7. It's not full care. But what the goal of this program is to alleviate caregiver burnout. And so I actually have multiple services that my program manages. We have direct case management. So if I meet with a caregiver and I see that they might need to get signed up for the farmer's market vouchers, or maybe some food stamp, there might be some need for food stamps in the home, I'm going to be assisting them with getting them to the right resource to help with those direct needs. We also, like Deb said, we have caregiver college events, and actually in August we're having a very large-scale conference. We're going to have the Alabama Family Trust, which I know you mentioned the trust earlier. We just try to kind of umbrella education that could apply to all caregivers, so that you're not having to go and like do the research on your own, but you're going to like our program to try to find those answers. So we try to push out as many resources that we can and link you up with support. We have a caregiver support group that meets monthly at Sarcoa. That's generally for all caregivers. We have a wide variety. Like Deb said earlier, we have some, is it a father?
Yeah, there's a woman there who has an autistic child. She's a single mom, and then she also has a middle school child. We also have people that come and take care of family members with severe dementia. So there's a wide range, and we hope to expand those caregiver groups into other counties, and not just, Dothan.
So those are our just kind of ongoing services, linking our 7 counties and the caregivers in the area to anything that we can see that might give you a break, give you some more education and, connect with other caregivers in that situation. There are 3 categories of caregivers that are eligible for Alabama Cares. I'm going to talk about the first 2, and then I'm really going to go into depth on the one that might apply most to this group. So my primary, the first one is primary family caregivers that are caregiving for someone 60 and older, or of any age with dementia. So that could be a 20-year-old caring for their 65-year-old grandparent, or it could be a husband caring for his wife with dementia. That is just kind of your general population of health-related dementias. Or I'm sorry, health-related caregiving. But it has to be someone caring for someone that is 60 or older. The state also has really kind of pushed us to serve these 2 new populations. Older relative caregivers, not parents, that are 55 and older, caring for children that are 18 and younger. So those are going to be your grandparents that might have come into having to care for maybe 2 or 3 children due to maybe incarceration, or just the situation might end up where, I'm getting really close to that camera, I just realized. Sorry. Get a full close up. That's going to be a non-parent person that is the guardian for someone 18 and younger. And that, we can help with after-school care, summer programs, school supplies, those types of things, because that population of caregivers they're usually not prepared to take on that role of caring for 1, sometimes 4 or 5 kids. So we're there to kind of help supplement that. And then the 3rd group is older relative caregivers, and this includes parents. So it can be any caregiver that is 55 or older that is caring for an adult 19 through 59. And so I might find some people in this room that might apply to them. Our services are not income-based, but like I said before, they are limited. So we have a pocket of direct care services that we can help that caregiver with. So respite and supplies are those two main services that we really, that our money, like the financial services goes to. So we have a couple of options for respite. I have contracts with some of the area direct service providers. Inman Home Care out of Eufaula, that's really our bigger one right now, Hearts Home Care. And they can go in and give that caregiver a break to run to the doctor. They get a pocket of hours for the whole fiscal year. And so they really get the flexibility. They might want to use 8 of those hours to like just leave the house, go spend the day. You can go to the other room and nap for all we care. You know, it's just to give that caregiver some hours of respite. And then the other option with our respite is reimbursement through the Alabama Lifespan Respite. And that is an agency, they're actually out of Huntsville, but they manage a reimbursement program for us where, let's say that you are paying out of pocket for services to come into the home. That can be anything that alleviates the caregiver, lawn care, home cleaning services, deep carpet cleaning to like maybe get some accidents or spills that have happened. Those are all things that are qualified under this reimbursement, and we can help with reimbursing up to a certain amount for what that caregiver is having to pay out of pocket for. Now, I know you said earlier, the one rule with that is that the worker cannot live in the home in that situation. So, like if they can hire a family member or a community member, or an agency, they can hire whoever they choose. It's our answer of the self-directed type care, but in this program, they cannot live in the home and get paid for or reimbursed for those costs. And then supplies, we get really creative with our supplemental program. We can do our like incontinence supplies. We can help with some limited durable medical equipment, and really just according to what the need is, we do an assessment, and then we look to see how we can help. So it might be bed pads, gloves, it might be some extra supplies for getting that person involved in like an activity. You know, maybe they're trying to go to a day program and they need some equipment for that particular program. We can help with those types of needs. So that's really our 2 direct services through Alabama Cares. I'm going to stop there for just that part. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay. I also wanted to mention that outside of, again, we're always trying to link people to any education or any support that we see that you can get your hands on. Alabama Lifespan Respite, I have some information on them at the table, but they have tons of Zoom and in-person trainings and educational opportunities, stipends even for like attending Zoom webinars. Sometimes they'll award you like 8 hours of respite just for like logging on for an hour. So it's really nice to link up with them. It's free. And you can go to their website. You can get their website material from me. But for example, they had a webinar just last week on anxiety and unhealthy thinking patterns. So like that might be something that, you know, just for some development of yourself and taking care of yourself, because again, my focus is on the caregivers, so you can continue caring for your loved one. I have so many programs and so many services. The last one I wanted to hit on is anybody familiar with this, the yellow dot? Okay, just one, right. This is a hidden gem in our state. So the yellow dot program is the first of its kind in the state of Alabama, and it's a cooperative between the sheriff's departments, the state troopers, and the local police departments. This is built really to help emergency personnel kind of identify what they're walking into in a crisis or an emergency situation, so that they can better handle and like more promptly handle a situation. So what happens is this dot, this decal, vinyl decal, it goes on the back window of your vehicle. And if you're transporting someone that has special needs, maybe medical needs, behavioral needs, you're going to fill out this little pamphlet that's gonna have their name. You can put their photo on there. They ask that you do a little photo. And then on the inside, it's just contact information. And these are for people that may not be able to communicate their needs. I mean, even in my program, I see a lot of hypoglycemic people, a lot of low blood pressure patients that sometimes they pass out, and they might pass out at the wheel. They might start to get dizzy, and they might swerve in and out of lanes. And a police officer might see that as a drunk driver, pull them over, and address that as a drunk driver situation. Unless they see the yellow dot on the back, then they're gonna know, because it's a statewide program, that this is something that they might need to be a little bit more, you know, on alert about, and help, you know, just try to get emergency medical care there sooner. So anyways, you put this in the sleeve, and then it goes in your glove compartment, and I mean, it's just a little bit of
It's a good identifier.
yeah, like it's a good way to just try to help in those situations. I've got those at the table. I think I'm gonna put some more out. Y'all put some more. I've got some more in a box. But if you need more information on that, just call us. The sheriff's departments, they sometimes have like put them in a back room, and they just don't like give it out to the public. Like there's not one usually in the front lobby or anything. So yeah.
Some questions?
Yeah, is that?
Do you have anything for the home, because you had some,
I was just thinking that.
you know, like if you had something happen in the home, or you got something on the window or something like the door?
No, I haven't seen, but that is a really that'd be a really great tool for them.
I was going to say, if you're on the current waiver, talk with your support coordinator, we do have a service for that.
You do.
It's remote support.
Oh, okay.
So there's something that we can display on a window or a door to show that there's somebody with special needs in this household.
They put different sensors, you have to identify, they'll come and assess the home, identify different sensors you may want, sometimes in the bed, sometimes in the bathroom, sometimes they talk through a tablet. Sometimes they're trying to explore their neighborhood, they have a GPS watch, but that service, that agency can be accessed with your waiver.
And in relation to like filling in the gap, my program, the Alabama Cares program, you cannot be on that and also getting any services from any of the waivers, but you wouldn't want to forego the waiver to be on the CARES program. It's more of a temporary, more of a like a fill-in, not to sustain you, but just to really give you some additional assistance until. But we're not going to just shut you off either and call it quits. Like we're going to make sure the next resource is in place. But yeah, we have waiting lists, but it's all based on our budget. But our waiting list is not necessarily is not close to that at all. Like we have maybe 100 at the most, and it's all need based. And so if a caregiver calls in and they said, you know, I'm really just at my wit's end right now, versus someone that has multiple community supports, we're going to assist that caregiver that's closer to burnout first. So yeah, I try to put it all in a summary. It's a lot that we can help with, but come see us at the table, and thank you so much for being here today.
We're gonna address the Able Savings Account, and then I'm gonna get Dr. Marcel to take just a few minutes and do her advertisement for the Original Autism Network. But I want to say something about the Yellow Dot program. My son is nonverbal, and he and I are often the two in the car together. And my greatest fear was having an accident. He's 41. He looks like an adult man, which he is, but he would never be able to tell anyone anything if something happened to me. So that is so important to have something there that identifies your circumstance and situation. All right. We'll give her a minute to plug into the computer. Everything is in the computer these days. I'm so grateful to y'all for being here. I know it is like lots and lots and lots of information, but the beauty of it is you can go back to a website and you can begin to look again and digest the parts that you yourself really need. That's just there you go.
You want me to go ahead and start?
Yes.
Okay, all right, y'all, usually this is about a 30 or 40-minute presentation. I know we are short on time, so I'm gonna give y'all a lot of information. I'm gonna abbreviate it so that everybody can get a chance to talk today. But at the end, you'll have my contact information, so if you have follow-up questions or information, you'll have my information where you can contact me. But I'm Anita Kelly. I work at the State of Alabama Treasurer's Office. And I'm going to be talking about Alabama ABLE. ABLE is the only account out there that allows an individual with disabilities to save money and keep all their benefits if they're receiving those. Even if they're not receiving benefits, you'll see why this is a great account that you should open. It was started in 2014, and Alabama was one of the first states to start these. We were the 7th state in the country to get this up and running. Important to note, you can only open these online, so you cannot go into a bank and open them. You just open it from the convenience of your home. That's fine. So to be eligible for ABLE, you have to have experienced your disability prior to age 26. Not been diagnosed, but it has to have occurred prior to age 26, okay? If that is true, then you have to either be entitled or receiving SSI or SSDI by meeting the Social Security definition of a disability, or have a disability certification from a doctor stating that you have a marked or severe disability. If you have those, then you are eligible for an ABLE account. Important to note that in 2026, that age is actually being raised to 46, which is really good. That'll start helping individuals that get disabilities later in life. But right now, it has to be 26. Next slide. So what can you use ABLE accounts for? This is a list that they can be used for, and it's everything. What is easier for me to do is tell you what they cannot be used for. You can't put money in an ABLE account and then take it out and use it for someone else. It needs to be used for the person that has the disability, okay? And it's in their name. So you would never want to take the money out
of Johnny's account and use it for Susie's birthday present, okay? You wanna use it for Johnny. But it's education, basic living expenses, so that's anything, clothing, food, transportation, housing, rent, end-of-life expenses, it's everything. And then the IRS is even, if you didn't fall in those categories, it's other expenses to enhance the account owner's health, independence, and quality of life. So that could be a vacation. That could be if the person needs someone to go with them on vacation, then that's paying for their way as well. So it's pretty much anything. Next slide. So who owns the ABLE account? I just covered that. It's always going to be in the person that has the disability's name. If they're able to open up the account themselves, then they can, and they would be the only person on the account. But if they need someone on the account, then that can be done as well. And that can be, I have the list of them right there. That's power of attorney, legal guardian, parent, rep payee, brother, sister, a friend, if that's who the person has chosen, power of attorney. They will be on the account and can help manage it. Also important to note, only one ABLE account per individual. So let's say you have a child and the parents are divorced. Mom and dad cannot both have an account. You can only have one account per individual. So contribution tax, just $25 to open up the account, $5 after that. So every time you deposit after that, just $5. There's an $18,000 annual standard contribution limit this year. That can change every year. Last year it was $17,000. The year before that it was $16,000. Those amounts are linked to the gift tax exclusion federal amount. So we find out every year what that amount's going to be. So it could go up again next year or it could come down, who knows, but it's $18,000 this year. So that is the max amount you can put in there unless the person qualifies for ABLE to work. And that's where you can put up to an additional $14,580 in it per year on top of the $18,000. I think I left the slide in there about that, and if I did, I'll go over that in just a moment. $100,000 limit before it's, Social Security benefits are suspended. So, you know, if anybody's receiving Social Security benefits due to disability, you know, back in the 1970s, they made a limit of, you can only have $2,000 in that person's name, okay? You go above that, you're losing benefits. They're gonna suspend them, except if you have this account. So you can have up to $100,000 in this account, have your $2,000 in your bank account, and still keep your benefits. Yes.
So do you report your ABLE account when they're doing their social security, the ABLE account?
Yeah, not able. That's another stage, so anyway.
When they're doing their reporting document for social security?
Yes, those are reported every month. Yep.
So, but they can't, you said they can't, like SSI cannot consider that.
Up to $100,000, they have to disregard it.
And can they get the money from SSI or SSDI into that account?
Yep, we even have,
It's just managed.
we have direct deposit, sign up as well.
So it can come out of the account that their money goes into, you can.
You can do that, or you can.
Transfer over to the ABLE account.
Yep. Any way you want to do it. You can set it up for direct deposit, you can have it go into your bank account that it's normally going into. You can mail a Social Security check in if they even, I don't know if they send checks anymore, if it all has to be direct deposit, okay. But yeah, any way you want to, you can get it into it. If you're not receiving Social Security benefits, you can put up to $475,000 in this account. Medicaid has to disregard it, so if they're receiving Medicaid, then they don't even look at the balances.
Okay, let me just say something about that real quick. I'm gonna get that in my head. So let's say I have a child that's 14 or 15, and I want to put some money away for them. If I put that over in the ABLE account, even though they're not yet receiving SSI, when it comes time to qualify, they cannot count that money against them.
Correct.
Okay.
As long as it's under $100,000.
Okay.
Yes. And then the last bullet point is just letting you know you can make money, you put money into the ABLE account any way you normally do into your regular bank account, except for you can't walk into a brick and mortar. Just remember that, you don't walk into a bank to do this. And it takes a while to get to the $100,000 because remember, you've got the $18,000 limit unless they qualify for the ABLE to work. it in there. All right, so able to work. That comes into play if the person with the disability is able to work. So if they are working and they are not receiving or contributing to a retirement plan at the place that they're employed, and their employer is not contributing to a retirement plan, they are eligible for able to work. So what that does is allows them to save that additional $14,580 or either the total of their wages, whichever is less. So let's say that they are working at Publix and make $10,000 this year. And let's say family and friends have contributed $18,000 to their ABLE account this year. Well, they could put their $10,000 of wages into the ABLE account as well. Now they were able to put $28,000 in the account where somebody that's not working could only put the 18, okay? The way we keep up with that is every time a deposit is made, it's going to ask you whether you mail in a paper form and a paper check comes in or you do electronically. It's going to say, is this a standard deposit or is it an able to work deposit? So we keep it into two separate buckets so that you can make the extra deposits if you want, if that's what you're doing. Of course, only the individual with the disability can contribute extra money to ABLE because it has to be them that's working to make that extra deposit. That's it. So what are the deposit options? When you open up the account and each time you make a deposit, you have to decide where the money is going. So we have a cash option, which is just a savings account. So it's just a regular old savings account, like if you walked into Regions or All-In Credit Union. I see those all over the place down here. Our savings account is paying like 5.5% right now. That's not gonna be forever. When interest rates come down, it's gonna come down, but right now it's paying a little over 5.5%. You wanna put your money in that if you're looking at between now and the next 5 years of wanting to get your hands on that money, okay? But if you're looking long term, if you have a child that you want to save for greater than 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you should look at some of our investments. Our investments are Vanguard funds. First of all, they've done very well, and they're inexpensive funds. And if you're a conservative investor, it's going to have less stocks. If you're aggressive, it's going to have less bonds. But that is going to show you a little bit higher returns over long term. So if you're trying to really save for the future for your loved one. So each time you make a deposit, you're going to have to decide where it's going to go. So let's say today I'm making a $100 deposit. I'm going to put $50 in the savings and I'm going to put $50 in the aggressive option. So tomorrow I'm going to make a $100 deposit. I'm going to put $100 all in the moderate. So it doesn't matter. Any combination, every time you log in, it doesn't matter. You make up the combination. What is important to note is that you can only, once you put it into the investment part, you can only make 2 changes per calendar year. So that's an IRS rule. So if you put it in the aggressive, you can move it to the moderate, but you can only do that twice in a calendar year.
And I want to add, I haven't asked that question. I did acknowledge that with the self-directed service, there's a savings account. You can't pull the savings account and send it to the ABLE. That amount stays, or that fund stays with your FMSA.
All right, what are the fees to have an Alabama ABLE account? $35 annually. We split that up per quarter. So it's $8.75. It'll just come out of the account. If you have it in those investments, then there are fees for that. That's not our fees. That's going to be the investment company fees, and they're 0.30 to 0.35%. So let's say the fund earned 10%. Well, instead of getting 10% return, you're going to get 9.70%. They'll just take it from the returns. Paper statement is $10 annually, but if you just get it electronic where you log on, when you open up the account where you're making your deposits and you just download it, that's free. And then we have a prepaid card that's $5 a month. That's completely optional, but it's a fabulous option for some people. It's fun. All right, tax benefits. I'm going as fast as I can, okay? Tax benefits, when you put the money in, is tax deferred. So if you got in those investments and you're earning interest, you are not going to get any kind of forms that you have to report that on your taxes. When you take it out, as long as it is used for that extensive list that I gave you for qualified disability expenses, it's tax-free. When you're putting money in, if you're an Alabama resident, you get a state tax deduction on it up to $5,000 per filer. So if you're
putting money away for your children, you can do $5,000. If you're married, you can do $10,000, and then you're pulling the money out tax-free. So lots of tax benefits. All right, so how do you access the money in the account? Same way as when you go in and you open it online. Well, when you open it, you're going to link your local account to it. That way, every time you log in, you can move money to and from. So you've got your money in the regions. Let's say your Social Security deposit just came in. You've got another gift that's coming in. You're like, oh, I'm going over the $2,000. I need to get some money moved over. Log into your regions account, move it over to Able. Well, now you've got some digital bills that you need to pay for. Log in, move the Able money back over to the regions account. You've got access to it. Okay? You can also request paper checks, but we all know how long it takes for the mail to come right now. There's a fee for it. To me, why not just do it electronically? All right, this is the prepaid card. If you have someone that you're trying to teach them financial literacy possibly, and you maybe want to give them a little bit of control over their money, y'all, this card is fabulous. It's $5 a month. You can start it at any time. You can stop it at any time, but it's completely customizable. You would log into your Able account. Let's say you want to move $100 from the savings account to the debit card. Then you can set a limit and say, okay, Johnny has a $25 per day spending limit. Okay, so I'm going to try to give him $25 where he can go if he's, wherever and spend it. Well, tomorrow Johnny needs to go buy shoes. Well, I'm going to up it, Johnny, because the shoes are $100. So I'm going to log in real time. Now his limit's $100. Well, I just got the text and it says he bought those shoes. So now I'm going to log in. I'm going to take it back down to $25. Okay. Johnny likes to spend all of his money at GameStop because he loves games. Well, I'm blocking that store. Okay. Johnny, I don't trust him to not go to an ABC store. We can block every store with alcohol. Right? It's just unlimited. So it's really neat. And like I said, it's real time, so you can change it at any time. So that is definitely something to think about. Next slide. All right, death of an account owner. If the person that has the account were to die, then what you have to do is you have to provide family or ALR. ALR stands for the Authorized Legal Representative on the account. Provides us with a death certificate. All the money that's in the ABLE account can be used for any final expenses. That's anything that's still left outstanding, including end-of-life and burial expenses and funeral. The remaining funds are transferred to the state of the beneficiary at that point. Medicaid can try to come back and reclaim some of those funds. Okay, but it can anyway on other funds. The potential Medicaid reimbursement from ABLE stands only from the time that the ABLE account was open until the person died. Okay, so let's say they've been receiving Medicaid benefits for 20 years. Well, Medicaid can't come back and claim that from the ABLE account. Okay, it's only from the time. So if the ABLE account had only been open for 2 years, it's only for those 2 years. Okay, make sense? We do not know of a time that Medicaid has come back and claimed on these funds in Alabama yet. We have to be notified. Okay, we haven't been told of that yet. But it may be that there's only enough money in the ABLE account that it's being spent on all these end-of-life expenses so far. So I'll also tell you that we are definitely looking into seeing if we can pass legislation to make it where Medicaid could not come back and claw this. Don't know if that will happen, but that is something that's being talked about. We're going to skip this one. This is just a recap of why you should open an ABLE account, and I know we're short on time, so skip that. That's all the numbers. If you were going to do a screenshot, that might be the screenshot, or the screen I would do. It's got all the numbers for this year that I talked about, how much it costs to have the account, what the deposit minimums are, and what the deposit maximums are, and the tax deduction. And then that's what our website looks like. Did I go too fast? Did you not get it? Okay, I'm sorry. It's back up if y'all need to get it. And then I'll give you a 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go. So everybody can go, no, if I can. We're going 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is what our website looks like. I'm telling you this because we have so many people mistakenly open other state plans ABLE accounts. If you Google Alabama ABLE, you're going to get Virginia's plans that's going to come up. You're going to get Enable that's going to come up, which is Nebraska's plan. You're not gonna get the state tax deduction on those if you open them up. And if you open those up and you try to do the state tax deduction, Alabama Department of Revenue is gonna send you a letter, okay? So that, you wanna make sure the website looks like that. And then there's my contact information. I have my brochures over there and cards, so y'all please feel free to come back out.
Alright, Dr. Doris Hill is here from Auburn. She's with the Regional Autism Network, and we are a part of that down here. She is working really hard to expand into the southeast corner of Alabama, so I'm going to give her a little time to just talk a little bit about what they do and give information that you may need to know.
Thank you, Susan. Did everybody get one of our flyers? I think I handed them to everybody, I'm pretty sure. Okay. I don't have slides because I think on our 2 hours of training, I have the last minute. So, but the Regional Autism Network, we didn't have it until 2017. Okay, when the House bill authorized a Regional Autism Network at USA, Auburn, and UAB with this much money. Okay, and so it was me. Okay, and then that's also the time they passed insurance reform for ABA therapy. Honestly, I'm only going to be like 30 seconds. So yeah, and then in 2019 we had insurance reform for Medicaid, which was a game changer, and that came out of a class action lawsuit. Medicaid. Oh, I walk around. I want to be near you guys, so it's okay. So we are the Regional Autism Network. We are Region 4. We have 20 counties. Okay, we connect people to resources. We do professional trainings. Okay, we present at conferences, state conferences, so forth. We do technical assistance visits. So we have professionals. If there's professionals here, they might have a question about one of their students, one of their clients, then they can call us and we'll help connect them to something they might need. We do direct assistance. We work with parents. And then we do public education, which is what this is. Okay, so that's that. Before I go further, I wanted to give a shout out to Susan and a shout out to Liz Nelson, who are on our constituency board. It's so nice to have some representation from this area on our board. They talked about respite. That was great. But remember, if you have someone who needs respite, you need to get in, and because they run out of money. And I'm just going to add what other people didn't say. And so you need to get in the door. You train your own providers, and then you get reimbursed for it. We have a listserv. Come over and sign in, and we will put you on our listserv. There's probably more than 1,200 professionals and parents on it. Once a month, Maria Gutierrez, our family navigator, sends out an email, and it has a list of all the upcoming events, whether they be via Zoom or in person in the area. So that's handy to know. Come visit me and get a bag. You can get virtual evaluations for autism up to age 10, and I have the flyer on that. Tiffany, thank you. ADMH Autism Services. If you call us, we will, and you have a autism diagnosis, we will send you the application and the link to the website. So that's I think that's helpful. All of what we do is one-on-one, mostly, and it's across the lifespan. It's not just kids, okay? I had a question today about a dentist, okay? They go to Birmingham, and Susan, I said, Susan's my resource. If you had called me, I would have called Susan, and she would have said Dr. Crowder in Dothan.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, that's what we do, is we connect people to resources. Go ahead.
Can I also say, my son has autism and the graduate school of dentistry is open. I was taking him to Birmingham to the Sparks of Town clinic, but they are open now. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
They are accepting autistic.
We're doing all this
networking today. I also have this, that special education is a right, not a favor. And special education is a right, not a favor, goes from little t, transition from early intervention to school, all the way up to big T, transition from school. It's this book, but they're out of print right now, so there's a QR code, and you just have to get my flyer and you can download the book. I'm almost done, I promise. I'm trying to only cover things that might be important to you. UAB has a rural autism study for children aged 3 to 17, and you get a $50 gift card. So come get that flyer. Yeah, come to our tables. We also have books. If you have a daughter, this is called Girls on the Spectrum. Okay, those are pretty new, that they're seeing that autism presents a little different in girls. Okay, and then, I already said that. I already said Liz and Susan. I'm done.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate the presenters. I appreciate the parents. I've had teachers here, special ed personnel. I know this was a lot of information. I'm learning the best way to disseminate. Talk to me, tell me what you want. We at Adams School are here. We can hold things here. We want to help provide. As a mama myself, I want to know what's going on, and I want you to know what's going on. So you tell me, give me suggestions, and we'll make this work for you. But please talk with everyone here. Yes, sir. Do it again. We will. We'll try to do little smaller chunks, but now you know where to go to get the information. So thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.